understanding your customer, definitely super important when it comes to like really understanding how you need to like merchandise your site, how your site needs to flow. Testing, when it comes to merchandising, like definitely test, figure out what's working, what's not working. And it could be even, things like using heat maps, figuring out where are customers clicking or not clicking. Where they're not clicking could tell you a lot too about how your site's set up and how it's functioning and how it's merchandised. So you find out, hey, they're not clicking the search feature. Like, hey, like we need to figure out how to redesign that, or maybe change where the location is, or figure out how to make that more prominent for customers. And then, for visual appeal for merchandising, I think consistency is really key.
Welcome to the E-commerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives, a podcast by Noibu, where we explore the elite strategies and cutting-edge insights with our expert guests. Get ready to propel your e-commerce business to the next level.
Welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Toolbox Expert Perspective. Joining us today, we have a digital expert from a couple different industries. I know him from his time in America's Test Kitchen. So really excited to have you joining today for a fantastic episode. So welcome, Tyler.
Hey, thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Awesome. I always like to learn a bit more about your career journey. I think I alluded to it with saying, hey, you have a diverse experience in different companies. So maybe talk to us a bit about your career journey.
Yeah. So again, like I said, my experience is pretty diverse, a lot of different industries. So if I go way back, I actually started kind of dipping my toe in the water of the e-commerce world. As right out of college, I was living in Portland, Maine, and managed a boutique retail store. We specialized in mid-century modern furniture, so like Noel Herman Miller, and small store. And I got to like help these guys. We were a design studio. I helped these guys like build their website. We did a lot of interior design. We had customers in the store, so it was a really cool experience. But definitely got the e-com bug from helping them kind of build their website. So from there, took that love of design and e-com, and I got a role at Rue La La, which is now Rue Guild Group. So from there, I focused more on the operations of e-com. So I was an event producer, which is pretty much the people who managed all the daily boutiques that launch at Rue La La. So every day they launch, 5, 6, 7 new sales. Super fast paced, super crazy, but learned a ton. We kind of managed everything from, worked with marketing and worked with creative, worked with everything to like, the models that were being picked for the photo shoot. So it was a really cool experience to kind of get a lot of cross-functional viewpoints into like all the inner workings of, kind of like a true digital first platform. So that was really cool. From there, I moved to the wholesale channel. So on retail. So I was a category manager for BJ's Wholesale Club. I was the category manager for beauty care. So worked with a bunch of CPGs, bought beauty care. Super interesting business. I worked with brands like Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Colgate, so some really powerhouse CPG companies, buying both e-com and brick and mortar. So kept my toes in e-com. It's hard to get away from that. But got a really cool experience of really understanding, customer needs from like a brick and mortar standpoint. And then from there, went to ATK, and I was at ATK for about 8 years and really helped build kind of a new e-com experience for them. ATK has been around for about 30 years, publish about 10 cookbooks a year. Really help them build, a new site experience, a new shopping experience for customers. Introduced about 4 new business lines, and it went from there. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously you did a phenomenal job there. So maybe let's start off by diving into site merchandising. That's something we haven't really spoken about too much on this podcast. So maybe start off with talking about what site merchandising is. And how do you actually optimize, you have visually appealing experiences?
Yeah.
How do you convert those into actual converting experiences? So maybe start off with a definition and then some strategy on how you actually make that convert.
Yeah, I guess really simply, the site merchandising is just how do you want, your customers to navigate your site? What do you want them to see? How do you want them to land on your site? And what's the most important for them? How are they navigating? Are you how are they getting from point A to B to checkout? So like, how can you make that seamless and smooth for them? So, when I really think about site merchandising, the first thing I feel like you need to really understand is like who your target audience is. It's going to be different for different industries, but like really, this is going to be one thing you probably hear me say a lot, no matter what the question is today, is like, know your customer, know your target audience, know what their needs are, listen to them, make sure you're understanding their frustrations or the things they like. Understanding your customer, definitely super important when it comes to like really understanding how you need to like merchandise your site, how your site needs to flow. Testing, when it comes to merchandising, like definitely test, figure out what's working, what's not working. And it could be even, things like using heat maps, figuring out where are customers clicking or not clicking. Where they're not clicking could tell you a lot too about how your site's set up and how it's functioning and how it's merchandised. So you find out, hey, they're not clicking the search feature. Like, hey, like we need to figure out how to redesign that, or maybe change where the location is, or figure out how to make that more prominent for customers. And then, for visual appeal for merchandising, I think consistency is really key. Making sure that the branding, the colors you're using, the photography standards, that's something we really worked at ATK. ATK was a very complicated business. I really focused on the ecom, but ATK has cookbooks they publish. They have TV shows they produce, podcasts. They have 3 cooking websites: Cooks Illustrated, Cooks Country, America's Test Kitchen, and a cooking school. So super complicated business with really one umbrella brand. So making sure that brand is kind of consistent across all those different platforms was key to making sure, we're just key to making ATK successful, and making sure like customers really understood where they were when they were on our sites. And the different brand voices, this doesn't go for every industry or every brand, but ATK, the different sites, Cooks Country, Cooks Illustrated, ATK, had very different brand voices as well. So understanding those brand voices and making sure that's clear, is a step in just making sure your site is visually appealing to the customer. I think, and then there's a lot of technical stuff, just making sure that, when it comes to merchandising, you're mobile optimized, how has your site been mobile? Like obviously it's, no shock to anyone. Mobile is becoming the biggest place where, customers are shopping. So that's, we say mobile first a lot, but it is key. Like whenever we did redesigns at ATK, we always started with mobile, making sure that was the place, just because we were seeing that our traffic shift as our, demographics were shifting. So super important.
How do you take some of these strategies, combine them with other digital strategies, and look at like an omni-channel retail experience? Like, how are you balancing, or in your opinion, how should one balance using the website as a tool to drive conversion versus as like a big catalog to also drive in-store conversion? And what are some of your kind of more tactical strategies there?
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely, a challenge at, I'll use, kind of my experience from BJ's, with a really big brick and mortar presence, and when I was there, an e-commerce business that was growing significantly. They really hadn't focused so much on e-com, but it's a huge part of their business now. But really understanding, let me back up. I think one of the key things that's really helpful at BJ's and for customers that have this is kind of that, the first party data that's becoming so important for people, really knowing your customers. So BJ's being a membership driven business, it had all this, like a plethora of information about their members and what they were purchasing. We could see, as long as their account was connected when they were signed in to the .com business, we could connect those and see what they were purchasing. And, I'm not at BJ's anymore, but I still shop there, still a loyal customer. And, I go on the app now, and if I'm looking at coupons, like it is automatically taking coupons on the, on bjs.com and then overlaying that with stuff I am buying in the store. So it knows, so it's showing me relevant products. So being able to kind of integrate that behavior, the purchases, and overlaying that between the two experiences, I think is really key. You're giving, kind of a personalized shopping experience in some ways, being able to connect those dots. The hard thing is what data do you use? How are you storing that data? How are you managing that data and making the right decisions? And, again, that comes back down to sometimes just knowing your customer, knowing how to, provide them what they want.
Well, and I wouldn't be an interviewer for a podcast if I didn't ask how collecting all this data and this big data starts to dovetail into one of the biggest buzzwords of the year, which is big data or AI. And how does this kind of start to feed into an AI strategy? Curious what your thoughts are there.
I have a lot of thoughts on AI. I think I mentioned this too. I don't have, a lot of hands-on experience with AI, but I have a lot of thoughts. And there were a few projects that I was really hoping to kick off, especially at ATK, around AI and how we kind of use AI in the data, because all similar to BJ's, ATK is a subscription-based business. So again, we have tons of data on our customers, people who have subscriptions or a magazine subscription, or, a magazine subscription, but not cooking school. So, all these different subscription models, and being able to corral that information and make decisions on how to present information to customers was a huge challenge for ATK. And one thing I was really working towards on the .com side that I thought would have been really cool to use AI and all that data we had was to, say, hey, someone is searching for these recipes, like, hey, roasting chicken, or they're looking at knife scale how-to articles in this content. And they come to the shop. Like, if we could recognize that and use AI to kind of personalize that experience and then show them, here's some roasting pans. We noticed you're looking at this, and being able to customize that experience for them, I think would be huge. And even being able to target, organic traffic, what we saw at ATK is, we actually didn't have a lot of crossover from our subscriber shopping in our shop. I have a few theories on that, but probably for another time. So we were getting a lot of new traffic and people who are not familiar with ATK coming to the shop. Because maybe they were looking at, hey, I'm interested in the Mediterranean diet and searching for Mediterranean diet. And one of the best-selling cookbooks at ATK is the Mediterranean cookbook. So they may happen onto ATK. They're not a subscriber. This is a really great way to really personalize that experience for them on the homepage and tell them about who we are versus someone who does know us and is coming from the recipe site. Should be two very different experiences, in my opinion, and could really help, change and really take that e-commerce business to the next level by utilizing both that data and, there's so many cool tools out there now that are utilizing, AI for personalization. Being able to put those together could be really powerful.
No, that's really good. And it kind of feeds into some of my next questions centered around, obviously people are collecting a lot of data. You have quantitative, you have qualitative data. Maybe talk to us a bit about some of the qualitative data, especially in subscription businesses, talking to your clients, understanding what they love, what they would like to see. And maybe talk to us a bit about how ingesting and working with customer feedback influence your decision-making.
Yeah. I mean, we constantly use, especially at ATK, customer feedback and decision-making. The cool thing with, ATK still being a fairly small company, even though they've been around for 30 years, we cross-functionally were super connected and we had a really great research team and they were constantly surveying and constantly reaching out to, our customers for information, and we would test things with them. We even had a program for new recipes at ATK where, if a test cook was developing a new recipe, we'd actually send that recipe out to a whole environment of people who signed up to be recipe testers, and we would take their feedback and we'd use that feedback even to develop recipes where if that recipe got really bad feedback, we either go back to the drawing board, or maybe not even move forward with that recipe at all because it just wasn't appealing to our customers. And we use it on the digital side too. We would use this customer feedback. Our subscribers were fantastic, and double-edged sword. Sometimes the feedback really hurt. You have to get a tough skin, and it's important information to kind of really pay attention to and listen to, because your customers are your customers. If you're not making them happy, you're not really going to have a business. So we would use a lot of research and a lot of customer feedback. We had Facebook groups for each of our brands. So we were, people were constantly posting recipe feedback in there or information about something they saw, an article they read. So we were constantly looking at this and using it to help us figure out, improvements on the site features, improvement on search. People weren't finding recipes that they wanted to find. Why? Then we would kind of start that project. Whenever on the ecom side, my team was also in charge of all the sourcing and the product development for any non-cookbook product. So all the equipment we sold, all the aprons we sourced, my team was working on designing and sourcing all those products. We would actually test new product lines with our customers. We'd say, hey, we're thinking about this. Are you interested in these products? And we'd use that feedback to kind of help us make good decisions. What we hope would be a good decision. You never know sometimes until you put it out there and see what happens. Yeah.
Love it. And you and I were chatting about this a bit ahead of time as well. And a bit of a pivot here, but talk to us a bit about SEO and the actual ROI on SEO and being able to drive more traffic. Obviously, you guys had a lot of rich content at ATK with the cookbooks. Maybe talk to us a bit about how that folded into your SEO strategy and how you actually knew that what you're putting out there was driving value to the business.
Sure. Got a little visitor here. I hope that's okay. SEO, we were, pretty lucky at ATK, mainly because we had such a robust content strategy that was really heavily focused on, SEO optimization and making sure that, we were showing up, because as a subscription-based, company, we didn't want all of our recipes out there on, search engines, because it's like you need to pay for that content. So we had a whole, our editorial team was really focused on articles that were either, on trending topics or just information people need to know, that were really focused on being SEO optimized to get people who may not know us to engage with our product. On the shop side, most of our traffic came from our direct marketing campaigns. So we did not actually have a lot of traffic coming organically. So actually, we did a huge project in 2022 where we realized we need to change this. A lot of things were changing with our marketing strategies, and my team needed to find ways to drive more organic traffic. So we actually revamped. We went through every product and revamped, all the titles, meta description. We worked with our development team on just making sure all the technical SEO things were in place, like our site map and all that great stuff that, I'm glad someone else can handle for me. Making sure all that was in play. I had someone on my team who was like a whiz at like keyword research. So he just like spent days and days just doing keyword research and finding the right stuff to use. Like, what areas could we put keywords in that were less competitive but still made sense? And the gains we saw in organic traffic actually like blew my mind, just by making sure the strategies were correct. And I think balancing it too with both that technical back end SEO work that needs to be done. We were also doing a lot of accessibility work at the time. So that actually helped improve some of those SEO scores as well. And then just making sure that all of the on-site stuff and the content was just really well optimized. We actually saw about a 64% increase in our organic traffic. And the cool thing that we learned is just, we monitored a lot of just like, your standard KPIs around like sessions and users and traffic sources and stuff. The organic traffic actually had a higher average order value. So I was great, but also I was like, damn, we've kind of like been leaving this money on the table by not focusing on this organic traffic, because these customers had a higher average order value, and we should have been focusing on these customers a long time ago. So, you live, you learn, but just making sure, with SEO, it's tough not to crack. We did a lot of testing and learning. We would kind of implement something new. We kind of had our focused products that we knew got a lot of traffic, and we kind of like try some things, like let's try some keywords, let's try this, let's try that. And then we would kind of see what happened over the next few days. And then if it worked, kind of implement from there and expand those strategies across more product lines and continue to kind of test and learn and grow from there. So there's a lot of great tools out there to help companies. If you don't have a lot of SEO experience, you don't need to be an SEO expert. There's a lot of great tools. There's a lot of information out there to kind of get up to speed pretty quickly.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, I think that takes us to the, yeah, exactly.
You want to talk about that, or should we move on?
I think we're actually up on time. So I wanted to thank you, Tyler, for wanted to thank you so much for coming out. Obviously, super action-packed episode. Really appreciate your insights, and I'm sure the viewers will as well. Thanks again.
Hope so. All right, this was great. Thank you very much.
The e-commerce toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the e-commerce toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.